He's the ponytailed Aikido ace who snapped wrists on camera and never broke a sweat, right? For decades, Steven Seagal built a career playing the lone wolf, the stoic hero who always got the job done. But while he was busy disarming villains and delivering cheesy one-liners on screen, he was quietly, perhaps even chaotically, constructing a sprawling, often messy, family maze. We're talking 7 children, 4 marriages, and a life story that stretches from the bustling back streets of Osaka to the wild, wind-swept steppes of Mongolia. It's a journey that reads more like a globe-trotting soap opera than an action film. Imagine this. One wife thought he was still very much married when he exchanged vows with her. Another, a bona fide Hollywood starlet, learned he was cheating with the nanny only after the pregnancy test results hit the tabloids, splashed across every supermarket checkout aisle. And his youngest child today? Well, he reportedly speaks better Russian than English, a testament to a life lived far from the Hollywood spotlight. If you think you know the guy who once arm-barred terrorists in those Die-Hard-esque blockbusters, wait until you meet the man who, allegedly, forgot to tell wife number 1 he was moving to Hollywood forever. This isn't just about his on-screen persona. It's about the complex, often contradictory reality behind Steven Seagal's family. Let's rewind to 1974. A cocky, ambitious 23-year-old from Lansing, Michigan, named Steven Seagal, stepped onto a Tokyo tatami mat. He bowed, not just to tradition, but to Miyako Fujitani, the daughter of a revered Aikido master. This wasn't just any dojo, it was a legacy, and Miyako, older, steely, and the heir apparent to her father's formidable martial arts empire, saw something in the loud, charismatic foreigner. He claimed to have studied with the CIA, even with Morihei Ueshiba's ghost. Quite the resume, wouldn't you say? Whatever his claims, he possessed a raw talent and an undeniable intensity. They married within months, a whirlwind romance that saw Seagal fully immerse himself in Japanese culture. He adopted the local dress, diligently learned the language, and even took on a new, more traditional name. By 1975, their first child, Kentaro Seagal, arrived, marking the beginning of his first, largely hidden family. 3 years later, in 1978, their daughter Ayako was born. Friends from that era often recount stories of Steven's dual life. By day, he'd be teaching brutal wrist locks and intricate Aikido techniques with an almost frightening precision. By night, he'd be rocking his infant son with that very same arm, a surprising tenderness beneath the tough exterior. The dojo thrived under his innovative, albeit sometimes controversial, leadership. But beneath the surface of domestic bliss and martial arts mastery, Seagal's ambition simmered. He had an itch, a restless desire for something bigger, something beyond the confines of the dojo. The whispers of Hollywood began to reach him. A talent scout, perhaps seeing his unique blend of martial arts, prowess, and striking looks, mentioned that Hollywood was actively looking for martial artists who could speak English. For Seagal, this was the siren call he'd been waiting for. He told Miyako he was flying to Los Angeles to open a small branch dojo. It sounded plausible, a natural extension of their growing martial arts empire. But the truth, as it often does with Seagal, was far more complicated. He never truly returned for good. The promises of a small branch dojo slowly faded into the harsh reality of distance and eventually abandonment. The third pregnancy, tragically lost in a car accident, became a poignant, almost symbolic end to their Japanese chapter. By 1986, the divorce papers finally arrived by courier, sealing the fate of his first family. They slipped quietly into rumor status, a forgotten chapter, while America was busy meeting its new action messiah, Steven Seagal. Before the ink had even dried on those Japanese divorce papers, Steven Seagal was already testing the limits of American matrimonial law. His life, it seems, rarely followed a linear path. In 1984, while on a film set, the exact project often debated, but the whirlwind romance undeniable, he crossed paths with Adrienne La Russa. She was a soap opera actress, all sharp cheekbones and undeniable ambition, a striking contrast to the traditional Japanese life he'd just left behind. Sparks, as they say, flew, and they flew fast. Within what felt like mere moments, vows were swapped in a quiet L.A. chapel. Headlines, ever eager for a juicy story, screamed, "Seagal's secret wedding." It was a bombshell, especially for those who knew his history. The problem? Miyako Fujitani, his first wife, was still legally his wife. The divorce proceedings in Japan were ongoing, not yet finalized. The news inevitably reached Miyako. Understandably, she was furious and bewildered. She promptly hired a team of lawyers who quickly pointed out the rather significant legal complication: bigamy. Seagal's marriage to Adrienne was quite simply illegal. The consequences could have been severe, but Hollywood, ever pragmatic, found a way. The marriage to Adrienne was annulled within months, dissolving as quickly as it had begun. No children were involved, no messy alimony battles, just a cautionary footnote in Steven Seagal's rapidly expanding personal history. It was a stark lesson, perhaps, that when you leap continents and embark on new romances, it's probably a good idea to check the paperwork first. This brief, almost blink-and-you'll-miss-it marriage highlighted a pattern that would become increasingly evident in Seagal's life: a tendency to move fast, often leaving a trail of complications in his wake. Then came Kelly LeBrock. Picture it. The mid-'80s. She was the weird science goddess, a Pantene icon, and for many the very definition of unattainable beauty. Her image was everywhere, a symbol of effortless glamour and allure. Seagal, ever the charmer, reportedly told her he was separated in the Buddhist sense. What exactly that meant, one can only guess, but apparently it meant he was free to date, and date he did. Their romance was a tabloid sensation, a clash of Hollywood's new action star and one of its most recognizable faces. They wed in 1987, the same pivotal year his film Above the Law hit theaters, catapulting him into superstardom as cinema's deadliest ponytail. Suddenly, Steven Seagal and Kelly LeBrock were the couple, gracing every red carpet event. He, often in his signature silk kimono jackets, a nod to his martial arts roots. She, glowing radiantly beside him, the picture of Hollywood perfection. Their life together seemed like a fairy tale, albeit a very public one. 3 children followed in rapid succession, cementing their image as a power couple with a growing family. Annalisa, then Dominic, and finally little Arissa. Their Mandeville Canyon estate became a sprawling haven, or so it seemed from the outside. But behind those imposing gates, the reality was a little different. Nannies outnumbered rescue pets, a clear sign of a busy, demanding household. Kelly, once a sought-after actress, traded film scripts for PTA meetings, embracing motherhood and a more domestic role. Seagal, meanwhile, jetted off to shoot blockbuster after blockbuster, returning home with wild, often embellished war stories from his exotic film locations. But even the most glittering fairy tales can crack. And this one did, spectacularly. The catalyst? The head nanny, Arissa Wolfe. She confessed to an affair with Seagal, and even more dramatically, a pregnancy. Kelly LeBrock learned the devastating news the same way the rest of America did, via a supermarket tabloid, a cruel public humiliation. The carefully constructed facade of their perfect Hollywood life shattered. She filed for divorce in 1994, citing the classic irreconcilable differences, Hollywood speak, as the script aptly puts it, for my husband and the nanny are having a baby. The neon glow of their wedding had faded, replaced by the harsh glare of public scandal. The arrival of Seagal's 6th child, Savannah, in 1996, served as undeniable proof that the star's off-screen plot twists consistently outran any screenplay Hollywood could conjure. Savannah Wolfe Seagal, born to Arissa Wolf, was a living, breathing testament to the messy reality of his personal life. While Seagal set up house with Wolf, navigating the complexities of their new, unconventional family, another storm was brewing. This period was marked by more than just domestic upheaval. Seagal's professional reputation, once as impenetrable as his on-screen characters, began to suffer significant dents. Rand Malone, Nicole Selinger, and Christine Keeve, all Warner Bros. Employees, came forward with disturbing sexual harassment complaints against the actor. These weren't isolated incidents, and they painted a picture far removed from the Zen master persona Seagal often cultivated. Studio ledgers later revealed 3 separate $50,000 out-of-court settlements. For a man whose films grossed hundreds of millions, these might have seemed like small change, mere inconveniences. But they were, in truth, permanent blemishes on his mystique, whispering doubts about the man behind the martial artist. Meanwhile, Kelly LeBrock, reeling from the public betrayal, sought solace and distance. She fled the glitz and gossip of Hollywood, retreating to a quiet ranch in Santa Barbara. In a rare television interview, speaking with a raw honesty, she famously called her marriage to Seagal a tragedy of Hollywood. She dedicated herself to raising their 3 children, Annalisa, Dominic, and Arissa, far from the chaotic, often toxic, gravitational pull of their famous father. Kelly's decision was a conscious effort to provide a stable, private upbringing, a stark contrast to the life Seagal seemed to court. It was a move to reclaim her narrative and protect her children from the relentless scrutiny that had come to define their family. Fast forward to 2009. The action roles that had once defined Steven Seagal's career had largely dried up. The big-screen blockbusters were replaced by a steady stream of straight-to-video covers featuring the same familiar squint, a noticeably looser face, and a lot more leather. His star, at least in Hollywood, was waning. But Seagal, ever the chameleon, was preparing for another reinvention, another chapter in his extraordinary personal saga. During a goodwill tour through Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia, he encountered Erdenituya, Elle Batsukh. She was a local dancer, intelligent and poised, and he hired her as his personal assistant. Elle was a woman of remarkable talents. She spoke 5 languages, could run a spreadsheet with impressive efficiency, and, according to various accounts, reportedly rolled her eyes with practiced grace whenever her boss claimed he once taught the Dalai Lama meditation. Their professional relationship, however, soon deepened. Friendship subtly morphed into romance, and then, in typical Seagal fashion, into marriage. The same year they wed their only child together, Kunzang, a beautiful Tibetan name meaning all good, was born. The photographs from this period offer a fascinating glimpse into Seagal's new life. A beaming, albeit slightly grayer, Seagal cradling his infant son against a backdrop that perfectly encapsulated his new reality. Traditional yurts juxtaposed with Soviet-era apartment blocks. It was a life far removed from the Hollywood hills. Today, this latest iteration of the Seagal family divides its time between a sprawling ranch in Texas, a traditional dacha outside Moscow, and Ulaanbaatar. Seagal, ever the international man of mystery, now holds a Russian passport and a ceremonial rank in the country's anti-terror unit, adding another layer to his already complex public image. Friends and associates often remark on Elle's steadying influence, crediting her with keeping the household running with an almost Mongolian efficiency and quiet strength. And the famous ponytail? Now streaked with silver, it remains firmly intact, a defiant symbol of the man who refuses to fade quietly into the background. This chapter, while perhaps his final act in terms of marriage, seems to be his most stable and private, a stark contrast to the public dramas of his past. So, after all the whirlwind romances, the international moves, and the tabloid scandals, where do Steven Seagal's 7 children stand today? It's a diverse group, each forging their own path, often far from the shadow of their famous and famously complicated father. Kentaro Seagal, the forgotten first son from his Japanese marriage, chose a path that echoed his early upbringing. He acted in Japanese TV dramas for a time, married a model, and now quietly runs an Aikido dojo in Osaka. It's a return to his roots, a deliberate embrace of the martial arts legacy, but one conspicuously without his father's direct involvement. He's known for his quiet demeanor and, notably, offers no public comment on Dad, maintaining a dignified distance. His sister, Ayako Seagal, also from the Japanese chapter, carved out a unique niche for herself as an avant-garde musician in Tokyo. Her artistic expression is far removed from the commercial action films her father became famous for. She once told a reporter, with a hint of irony, that she tries not to watch those films, a sentiment that speaks volumes about her relationship with his public persona. From the Kelly LeBrock era, Annalisa LeBrock Seagal has embraced the world of fashion, specifically modeling for plus-size brands in Los Angeles. She's an advocate for body positivity, frequently posting inspiring reels on social media, using her platform to promote self-acceptance and confidence. Her public presence is vibrant and authentic, a testament to her own journey. Dominic Seagal, the soul boy from the Kelly era, has taken a decidedly different, more rugged path. He designs off-grid cabins in the picturesque wilderness of Big Sur, California, and shares his passion through woodworking tutorials online. His focus on self-sufficiency and craftsmanship stands in quiet contrast to his father's often extravagant lifestyle. Arissa Seagal, whose name carries a bittersweet irony, given it's shared with the nanny who upended her parents' marriage, has chosen a life dedicated to environmental science. She keeps the lowest profile of all the children, shying away from the public eye. Her work in protecting the planet speaks to a deep sense of purpose, far removed from Hollywood's glitz. Savannah Wolf Seagal, the nanny's daughter, grew up in the San Fernando Valley, navigating a childhood undoubtedly shaped by the public nature of her parents' relationship. She pursued higher education, earning a psychology degree, and now works with at-risk teens, channeling her experiences into helping others. It's a career choice that reflects compassion and a desire to make a tangible difference. Finally, there's Kunzang Seagal, the youngest, still in elementary school. He's a true global citizen, reportedly speaking Russian, Mongolian, and enough English to playfully ask visiting journalists why they keep calling his dad Sensei. His multilingualism and blended cultural background perfectly encapsulate the sprawling international tapestry of Steven Seagal's life. 7 kids, 4 mothers, 3 passports, 2 continents, and one undeniably sprawling, fractured legacy. Each child a unique thread in the intricate, often tangled fabric of Steven Seagal's hidden truth. On celluloid, Steven Seagal was an unstoppable force, a lone wolf who never needed backup, always the one-man army. In life, however, the reality is a stark contrast. He's outsourced parenting to a rotating cast of nannies, ex-wives, and, no doubt, the occasional boarding school. The image of self-reliance, so central to his films, dissolves when you consider the complex network of individuals who've stepped in where he, perhaps, could not. He frequently claims a serene Buddhist calm, often speaking of spiritual enlightenment and inner peace. Yet, the persistent trail of sexual harassment settlements follows him like a team of stunt doubles, a constant reminder of accusations that paint a very different picture of his character. It's a contradiction that's hard to reconcile. The spiritual guru versus the man facing serious allegations. His post-Hollywood career has been equally eclectic, and often quite puzzling. He sells herbal energy drinks on late-night infomercials, hawking products with the same earnest intensity he once brought to cinematic martial arts. Simultaneously, Russian state television bills him as a foreign policy expert, a surprising pivot for an action star. It's a public image that defies easy categorization, a blend of B-movie entrepreneur and geopolitical commentator. Critics, naturally, mock him for ballooning in size, for the increasingly stiff movements in his later films, for the often parodied whispers of his dialogue. Yet his loyal fans remain steadfast, defending him as a living national treasure, a martial arts legend whose contributions to the genre are undeniable. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the messy middle. It's nestled between the lone wolf mythology he carefully cultivated and the very human man who, by all accounts, seems to keep forgetting wedding anniversaries and the complex needs of his varied offspring. He is a father who, by every conceivable metric, spread his genes farther than his films ever reached, leaving behind a legacy far more intricate and personal than any movie plot. From a humble Tokyo dojo mat to the glittering red carpets of Hollywood, and finally to the vast, open expanse of the Mongolian steppe, Steven Seagal built not one, but 4 separate families. And he did it, it seems, with the same approach he took to filming his signature fight scenes, fast, flashy, and with minimal concern for the collateral damage left in his wake. The ponytailed hero who once promised to protect the innocent in his cinematic universe, now, in real life, juggles birthday parties across multiple time zones, sending group text emojis to children who, in some cases, grew up calling other men dad. Perhaps that's the ultimate hidden truth, the most profound irony in Steven Seagal's extraordinary life. The guy famous for breaking arms and breaking laws on screen ended up breaking something far more fragile, far more fundamental: continuity. 7 kids, 4 wives, and, as far as the public record shows, 0 apologies. And somewhere, in dimly lit editing rooms or raucous karaoke bars, audiences still chant his name, completely unaware that the loudest, most impactful battles he ever fought happened off-screen. They unfolded in quiet kitchens, in hushed courtrooms, and in the private hearts of those he loved, or claimed to love, battles where no stunt team could ever soften the blow.